mind games, and secret shenanigans. The full MK Ultra story.
It all began in the 1950s. The world was a mess. The Cold War was in full swing. McCarthyism was running rampant. And the CIA was losing sleep over the idea that communist countries like the Soviet Union, China, and North Korea had developed mind control techniques. Imagine a room full of men in suits sweating over the thought that the Soviets might turn them into sleeper agents with a single whispered word. Paranoia wasn't just in the air, it was the air. And it wasn't just about nukes. No, the CIA believed the enemy was already inside our heads. Their solution? If the commies had mind control, then by golly, we were going to have mind control too. That's how Project MK Ultra was born. Now let's set the stage a bit. The Korean War had just ended, and the US was freaking out over reports of brainwashing used on American prisoners of war. This wasn't just propaganda, it was outright panic. If you've seen the movie The Manchurian Candidate, you know what I'm talking about, except in real life. It wasn't just about a few spies, it was about controlling entire populations. What if the Soviets could make Americans vote for communism? What if they could make us all the aborts? The CIA wasn't taking any chances. Enter Allen Dulles, the CIA director, with a penchant for big ideas, and by big, I mean borderline insane. Dulles wasn't just any bureaucrat, he was a man on a mission. In 1953, he approved Project MK Ultra, handing the reins to a guy who could have been a Bond villain, Dr. Sidney Gottlieb. Now, Sidney Gottlieb might not look like your typical evil genius, but this guy was the CIA's go-to for anything weird. His nickname? The Black Sorcerer. And no, he didn't get that from playing Dungeons and Dragons. Gottlieb was the brains behind some of the CIA's darkest experiments. Imagine a guy who's equal parts mad scientist and supervillain, but with the job security of a government employee. By the way, let's talk about the name. Why MK Ultra? Here's a fun fact. MK supposedly stands for mind control, using the German spelling because, get this, they thought it sounds more intimidating. Why German? Probably because nothing sounds scarier, like a hint of World War II vibes. And Ultra? That was just the CIA saying, we're not messing around. This isn't just mind control, it's ultimate mind control. Subtlety was not their strong suit. So what was the point of all this? MK Ultra had three main goals. Develop mind control techniques to use against enemies, or maybe even allies. Modify behavior, because why stop at controlling thoughts when you can change someone's entire personality? Create a truth serum. Think about it. A magical drug that makes you spill your darkest secrets, like a government-sponsored tequila shot. Basically, the CIA wanted to be a mix of Hogwarts and a James Bond villain lair, and they weren't picky about how they got there. To fund this madness, the CIA funneled money through fake organizations and front groups. They even used real universities, hospitals, and research institutes as cover. Some of America's top colleges were unwittingly, or maybe wittingly, partners in crime. Harvard, Stanford, and even McGill University in Canada played host to MKUltra experiments. So if you ever feel like your college tuition was wasted, just remember, at least your school wasn't secretly turning people into zombies for the CIA. One of the first experiments involved testing whether LSD could be the ultimate truth serum or brainwashing tool. The CIA thought LSD was the key to unlocking the human mind. They imagined a world where they could slip a little acid into somebody's drink and turn them into the perfect spy, or the perfect patsy. And here's where it gets crazy. They didn't just test this on prisoners or enemies. They tested it on their own people. Imagine going into work and finding out your boss has been slipping LSD into your coffee. Surprise! It's for science! MKUltra wasn't just one experiment. It was an entire network of over 150 sub-projects. They experimented with hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and even electric shock therapy. Each sub-project had its own twisted twist, and Sidney Gottlieb was the man orchestrating it all. This was the CIA's brainchild, a way to fight the Cold War, not with nukes, but with nightmares. So there you have it, the origins of MKUltra, a program born from Cold War propaganda, fueled by questionable ethics, and led by a man with a nickname straight out of a Marvel movie. But as wild as the start was, trust me, it only gets crazier from here. Stick around, because up next we're diving into the experiments themselves, LSD, secret brothels, and so much more. You won't want to miss it. Alright folks, here's where the story shifts from crazy secret program to what the hell were they thinking. The MKUltra experiments were so intense, so unethical, that if they weren't real, you'd think I was describing a dystopian sci-fi novel. Buckle up. This is going to get weird. Let's start with the LSD, because of course, the CIA was obsessed with the idea that a little acid could unlock the secrets of the mind. They believed LSD was like a key that can open doors to brainwashing, truth extraction, or even turning people into perfect spies. They tested it on everyone, prisoners, mental patients, soldiers, and get this, completely unexpecting civilians. Imagine walking into your favorite diner, sipping your coffee, and suddenly you're seeing the walls melt and hearing colors. This was someone's Tuesday in the 1950s. One of the most infamous cases was Frank Olson, a CIA scientist who was dosed with LSD without his knowledge during a company retreat. The guy spiraled into paranoia, started questioning everything, and then mysteriously fell out of the 13th floor window. The official story? Suicide. The unofficial story? Let's just say the CIA has a way of tying up loose ends. More on him later. And the kicker, even when LSD didn't work the way they hoped, the CIA just doubled down, because if something isn't working, the answer is clearly more acid. Now let's talk about Operation Midnight Climax, because who doesn't love a code name that sounds like a bad adult film? Here's the setup. The CIA ran fake brothels in San Francisco and New York. They hired sex workers to lure men,
dose those poor guys with LSD, and then watch the results through one-way mirrors. Why? To see how people acted under the influence in a natural setting. Natural setting? Really? Because nothing screams natural like being unknowingly drugged while CIA agents take notes in the next room. The sex workers reportedly paid handsomely, but the men, they had no clue what was happening. Some probably thought they'd had the wildest night of their lives. Others, well, let's just say therapy wasn't as accessible back then. But here's the thing. Midnight Climax wasn't just about observing behavior. The CIA also used these sessions to test coercion techniques, trying to figure out how to make people spill secrets. It was shady, it was sleazy, and it was 100% legal. And then there's the psychological torture. If you thought the LSD experiments were bad, wait until you hear about Dr. Donald Ewan Carman. This guy wasn't just your average mad scientist. He was a Canadian psychiatrist with a mission too. And I quote, "Depattern his patients." What's depattering? It's exactly as horrifying as it sounds. Carman's goal was to erase people's memories and personalities completely, then rebuild them from scratch. He used techniques like electroshock therapy at 30 to 40 times the normal intensity, drug-induced comas that last for weeks, endless loops of recorded messages played to patients for hours, days, or even weeks. Because clearly nothing says therapy like electrocuting someone's brain while whispering, "You're going to be okay," for 72 hours straight. Carman's experiments didn't just fail, they left patients permanently damaged. People came in with mild anxiety and left unable to recognize their own families. And the worst part, the CIA paid him to do it. They called it research. MKUltra wasn't just one experiment. It was an umbrella for over 150 sub-projects. Some of them are so bizarre, you'd think they were rejected plot lines for the X-Files. Let's break a few down. Truth serum testing. The CIA wanted to create the ultimate truth serum, something that could make anyone spill their secrets. They tried everything from LSD to exotic plant extracts. Spoiler alert, it didn't work, unless you count people admitting they liked pineapple on pizza. Hypnosis trials. The CIA believed hypnosis could be used to implant false memories or control behavior. They even tried to create assassins who could be triggered with a specific phrase. Imagine a spy who turns into James Bourne when someone says, "The Eagle has landed." Sounds cool in theory, right? Too bad it didn't pan out. They put subjects in tanks, deprived them of all sensory input, and then recorded how long it took for them to lose their grip on reality. Pro tip, it didn't take long. Here's the kicker. Almost none of these experiments had proper consent. In fact, most subjects had no idea what was happening to them. Prisoners thought they were signing up for medical treatment. Mental patients thought they were getting therapy. Even soldiers were duped into volunteering for testing, that left them psychologically scarred. This wasn't just unethical, it was criminal. In the CIA's defense, national security, because apparently those two words let you get away with anything. So there you have it, the experiments of MK Ultra, a perfect storm of paranoia, bad science, and zero accountability. It's the kind of thing that makes you wonder, how far will people go in the name of the greater good? And how much acid does it take to realize you're the bad guy? Stick around, folks, because in the next segment, we're diving into the fallout. The moment the world found out about this madness and said, "Wait, they did what?" Trust me, you won't want to miss it.
Alright, let's get into the fallout of MK Ultra, the part where the government realized, oh no, people might not like the idea of us messing with their brains without asking. By the late 1960s, MK Ultra had spiraled so far out of control that even the CIA was like, guys, maybe we should pump the brakes on the whole drugging innocent people thing. But here's the thing about secret programs. The more you try to keep them under wraps, the more likely they are to explode in your face. And explode it did. Enter the 1970s, a time of Watergate, public mistrust, and journalists sniffing around every dark corner. In 1973, as the Watergate scandal was blowing up, CIA Director Richard Helms had a major "oh crap" moment. He knew MK Ultra couldn't survive public scrutiny, so he ordered most of the program's files to be destroyed. Think of it as hitting the delete history button on your browser, but for crimes against humanity. Unfortunately for him, like every bad cover-up, they missed a few receipts. About 20,000 financial documents were stored in an unaccounted office and escaped the shredder. These would later become the breadcrumbs that led investigators to the truth. In 1975, two major investigations, the Church Committee in the Senate and the Rockefeller Commission, decided to poke the proverbial bear. Their goal? Expose abuses by the intelligence community, and boy, did they find some dirt. Dear CIA, is it true you've been drugging citizens, crashing their memories, and running fake brothels? The CIA sweating bullets. Maybe. The public reaction was nuclear. People were furious. And the government's response was, basically, oops, our bad. Yeah, because oops totally makes up for decades of psychological torture and LSD trips that no one signed up for. Here are some highlights from what the investigations uncovered. The CIA experimented on thousands of people, including prisoners, soldiers, and even their own employees. Surprise, your boss is dosing your coffee. They tested drugs on psychiatric patients, many of whom were already vulnerable, because why not make a bad situation worse, right? Oh, and let's not forget about Operation Climax. Imagine being told, yeah, we spiked your drink and watched you through a one-way mirror for science. How does that not end well in a lawsuit? But the biggest revelation? The sheer lack of oversight. The CIA had intentionally become a rogue agency, doing whatever it wanted under the guise of national security. After the Church Committee hearings, MK Ultra officially became a black mark on the CIA's reputation. The agency claimed it had shut down all mind control research. Sure, and I'm the Queen of England. Let's be real. Does anyone believe they just stopped? No one spends 2 decades trying to figure out mind control and then goes, forget it. If anything, they probably just rebranded it with a cooler name like MK Super Ultra or Project Mindwipe. One of the most infamous cases linked to the MK Ultra is that of Frank Olson. Olson was a CIA scientist who was dosed with LSD without his knowledge during a CIA retreat. Days later, he fell out of a 13th floor window in New York. Officially, it was ruled a suicide, but his family and some investigators believe he was murdered to keep him quiet. Here's where it gets even darker. Decades later, Olson's body was exhumed, and forensic experts found injuries consistent with foul play. The government eventually settled with his family, but the case remains one of the most chilling examples of MK Ultra's human cost. The fallout didn't just end with hearings and lawsuits. MK Ultra created a wave of paranoia that we still feel today. Suddenly, everyone was wondering, how much does the government really know? What else are they hiding? Is that guy at Starbucks putting LSD in my latte? Okay, maybe not the last one, but seriously, MK Ultra laid the foundation for modern conspiracy theories. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. If that gift is mistrust and a little bit of tinfoil hat fashion. So what did we learn from all this? First, never trust a government agency that offers you free drinks. Second, cover-ups never work. Someone always leaves a paper trail. And finally, when the truth does come out, it's often stranger than fiction. And that, my friends, is the story of how MK Ultra went from a top secret project to public scandal to the inspiration for about half the movies you've seen on Netflix. Stick around, we're just getting started. Alright folks, it's time to step out of the official documents and dive headfirst into the rabbit hole. This is the fun part, the conspiracy theories. Because what's a shadow government program with a few lingering what-ifs? Now some people believe MK Ultra never really ended. They think it just evolved, got a shiny new name, and slipped quietly into the shadows of our everyday lives. Think about it. Social media algorithms, targeted ads, voice assistants that just happen to suggest what you were talking about 5 minutes ago. Mind control 2.0? But hey, maybe that's just a tinfoil hat talking. Or is it? Let's start with the big theory. MK Ultra didn't actually stop in the 1970s. Sure, the church committee made the CIA swear on a stack of Bibles that they'd never do anything like this again, but come on, it's the CIA. Lying is practically part of their job description. What? Us? Mind control experiments? No, we're totally done with that. The theory goes that instead of shutting down, MK Ultra went underground. Programs like Project Stargate, where the government experimented with psychiatric phenomena and remote viewing, are often cited as proof that the U.S. wasn't done experimenting the limits of the human mind. And who knows what's still happening behind closed doors today? Here's a juicy one. Some people believe Hollywood is crawling with MK Ultra slaves. That's right. Your favorite pop star and actors, just pawns in the CIA ongoing quest for world domination. Let's unpack this, shall we? Case 1. Britney Spears. Remember Britney Spears' infamous head-shaving moment in 2007? Conspiracy theorists say this was a programming breakdown, a glitch in her supposed MK Ultra conditioning. They argue that her public meltdowns were the result of her trying to break free from control. Or maybe the poor woman was just stressed out from being hounded by paparazzi. Occam's razor, people? Case 2. Beyonce and Sasha Fierce. Then there's Beyonce. According to some theorists, her alter ego, Sasha Fierce, isn't just a stage persona. It's a sign of dissociative identity disorder caused by MK Ultra style programming, because obviously the CIA's top priority is making sure Single Ladies becomes a global hit. Coincidence? Probably. Entertaining? Definitely. Case 3. Kanye West. Let's not forget Kanye West, who's had his fair share of public outbursts. Theorists claim these are MK Ultra breakdowns and point to his hospitalization in 2016 as evidence of him being reprogrammed. Again, maybe the man just needed a break. But why let logic ruin a good conspiracy? So the next time you're watching the Grammys, just remember that glittering stage might be ground zero for the CIA's master plan. Next up, the music industry. The theory here is that MK Ultra inspired techniques have infiltrated your favorite songs, specifically through something called backward masking. This is when hidden messages are embedded in music that can only be heard when you play the track in reverse. Creepy, right? Example 1. Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. One of the most famous examples is Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. If you play it backwards, because apparently people have time to do that, it supposedly reveals satanic messages. The theory? These subliminal messages were planted to influence listeners' behavior. But honestly, if you're taking life advice from a reverse guitar solo, you've got bigger problems. Example 2. The Beatles and the Paul is dead theory. Even the Beatles weren't safe from this madness. The infamous Paul is dead conspiracy claimed that if you played certain Beatles tracks backwards, you'd hear clues about Paul McCartney being replaced by a double. Spoiler, Paul's fine, but hey, points for creativity. Today, some theorists believe pop music is filled with subliminal messages designed to keep us docile, because clearly, the CIA thinks the best way to control the masses is through catchy choruses and auto-tune. Makes sense, right? Where the conspiracies get a 21st century upgrade. Some people believe that social media is the new frontier for MK Ultra style experiments. Think about it. Algorithms designed to keep you scrolling ads that seem to read your mind, and platforms that know more about you than your therapist. Maybe those targeted ads are more than just marketing. Maybe they're programming. Or maybe we're all just too addicted to our phones to notice. Either way, it's spooky. Let's talk about Project Monarch, the supposed continuation of MK Ultra. This theory claims that the CIA now uses trauma-based mind control to create monarch slaves, individuals conditioned to carry out covert missions without even recognizing it. Think Jason Bourne meets The Truman Show. Monarch slaves are allegedly programmed using symbols like butterflies, which show up repeatedly in pop culture. It is a secret code or just a coincidence? I'll let you decide. Alright, let's be real for a second. Are these conspiracy theories fun to think about? Absolutely. Are they true? Probably not. But that's the beauty of a good conspiracy. It doesn't have to be true to make you question everything. So whether you believe Hollywood is run by mind-controlled puppets, or that social media is the new MK Ultra, one thing's for sure. These theories say a lot about our fears, our imaginations, and our deepest distrust of those in power. Stick around, because in the next segment, we'll dive into the aftermath of MK Ultra and how it reshaped public trust or destroyed it entirely. You won't want to miss this. Alright folks, we spent a lot of time talking about the real MK Ultra and the wild conspiracy theories it inspired. But now, let's have some fun. Let's crank up the imagination and dive into a world where MK Ultra actually worked. A world where the CIA's mind control experiments were a smashing success. Imagine this. The CIA doesn't just manipulate a handful of people, they control everyone. Social media is their ultimate tool. TikTok trends, carefully engineered psyops to keep us distracted while they run the world. Because let's be honest, who needs free will when you can learn the latest dance challenge? Think about it, the Renegade Dance. That wasn't created by a teenager. It was crafted by CIA operatives in a top secret lab. And those viral cat videos? Just subliminal messaging to keep us docile. Wake up, sheeple. Now let's take it a step further. What if every conspiracy theory you've ever heard is true? Mind control? Absolutely. Alien experiments? Of course. Why government suddenly disclassify UFO footage? Secret lizard overlords? Oh, they're real. And they're probably watching the live stream right now. Picture this. You woke up one day and your Alexa starts speaking in cryptic commands. Your Spotify playlist is filled with songs telling you to obey. And suddenly, everyone around you is wearing the same color shirt and chanting, "All hail the algorithm." Terrifying, right? But wait, it gets better. What if MK Ultra wasn't just about mind control? What if it was the start of a grand experiment to merge humans with AI? Think about it. All those CAPTCHAs you've been solving, training the machines to understanding Siri and Alexa, just stepping stones to a world we're all plugged into the Matrix. Honestly, at this point, I'd probably sign up for the Matrix. At least I'd get to eat steak and not worry about gas prices. And let's not forget about Hollywood. In this version of reality, the Oscars aren't about rewarding good movies. They're secret ceremonies where the CIA selects their next group of sleeper agents. Who needs talent when you've got programming? Brad Pitt is an MK Ultra assassin, Scarlett Johansson running covert ops in plain sight. It explains so much. And don't even get me started on Nicolas Cage. That man has definitely seen some classified documents. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This is insane, and you're right. But isn't that the beauty of fiction? It lets us imagine the wildest possibilities. then breathe a sigh of relief when we realize it's all just a story. Or is it? Because let's face it, sometimes the lines between fiction and reality is thinner than we think. So next time you're scrolling through TikTok or binge watch Netflix, just remember, maybe, just maybe, you're part of the biggest mind control experiment the world has ever seen. Thanks for humoring my wild imagination, folks. Stick around for the question and answer, where I promise to answer the burning question: is my dog secretly a CIA agent? Spoiler, the answer is yes. Alright, let's take a moment to step back from the conspiracy theories, the wild experiments, and the tinfoil hats. In all seriousness, MKUltra represents one of the darkest chapters in modern history. It's a sobering reminder of what can happen when paranoia takes the wheel and accountability gets left in the dust. This program wasn't just a collection of bizarre experiments. It was a breach of trust, a betrayal of the fundamental idea that government exists to protect its people, not exploit them. Thousands of lives were affected, many of them damaged beyond repair, all in the name of national security. So what can we take away from this? For one, it's a reminder that power needs checks and balances. So what can we take away from this? For one, it's a reminder that power needs checks and balances. The people at the top need to be held accountable, because when there's no oversight, programs like MKUltra can and will happen. And it's not just about history. This lesson is as relevant today as it was in 1950s. Think about modern technology, social media, algorithms, data collection, AI development. Are we asking the right questions? Who's holding these powerful systems accountable? Or are we just trusting that the people in charge have our best interests at heart? History has shown us that trust without scrutiny is a dangerous game. But here's the thing about MKUltra. It wasn't just about power. It was about fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of losing control. Fear that the enemy was one step ahead. And fear, as we've seen time and time again, can make people do terrible things. That fear led to the destruction of lives, the erosion of ethics, and a legacy of mistrust. So as tempting as it is to laugh at the absurdity of secret brothels and LSD experiments, we can't forget the human cost. Now, I'm not saying we're living in a dystopia yet, but the next time someone talks about data privacy or government surveillance, remember MKUltra. It's a cautionary tale, a reminder that we have to keep asking questions. Who's making the decisions? Why are they doing it? And what happens if they go too far? And hey, the next time someone offers you a drink at a party, maybe double check who's pouring. Because if history has taught us anything, it's that you can never be too careful. At the end of the day, the truth is out there, or at least hidden away in heavily CIA documents. And while we may never know the full extent of what happened, it's up to us to make sure it doesn't happen again. So whether you come here for the conspiracy theories, the history, or just to see me in a tinfoil hat, thank you for joining me. Together, we've unraveled one of the strangest, most unsettling stories of the 20th century, and I hope it's left you with more questions than answers, because that's how we keep pushing forward. Before we wrap up here, here's my challenge to you. Share this story. Talk about it. Question it. Because the more we understand the past, the better we can shape the future. Oh, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your fellow conspiracy puffs. Let's keep this conversation going. And if you see me mysteriously disappear after this video, well, you know where to start looking. Thanks for sticking around, folks. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and most importantly, stay weird. Until next time, this is Christopher signing off. Good night, and don't let the algorithms bite.